The billionaire's laughter echoed too loudly against the mountainside, sharp and careless, as if the broken Ferrari were nothing more than a mild inconvenience. The red supercar sat helpless on the narrow road, its hood lifted, steam hissing upward into the cold. Gray air rain clouds pressed low over the peaks, and the smell of wet asphalt mixed with burnt oil. Victor Hale leaned against the door, designer coat, spotless watch worth more than most houses glinting on his wrist. "I'll give you $100 million if you fix my car," he said with a scoff, tossing the keys into the air and catching them again. "Or better yet, take the Ferrari itself." His words were meant to entertain the small crowd that had gathered, a driver standing stiffly nearby, a couple of passing motorists slowing down to stare, and one unexpected figure, a thin black girl standing beside a rusted shopping cart filled with scrap metal. Her hair was pulled back with a fraying ribbon, her clothes clean but clearly worn thin by time and poverty. She didn't laugh. She stepped closer instead, eyes fixed on the open engine bay. "Not with recognition, may I look?" she asked quietly. Victor blinked. "Caught off guard, look all you want," he said dismissively. "It won't change anything." The girl set her card aside and approached the Ferrari, as if it were fragile rather than priceless. She leaned forward, inhaling softly, listening, her brow furrowed, not in confusion but concentration. Rain began to fall, light at first dotting the car's polished surface. She reached inside the hood without hesitation. "Hey, careful!" Victor snapped instinctively. Her hands were already blackening with grease. She adjusted a loose hose, checked the wiring, tapped lightly near the fuel line. She tilted her head, then closed her eyes. "My father used to say engines talk," she murmured. "Most people just don't hear them." Victor straightened, irritation flickering into reluctant curiosity. "Your father worked on Ferraris." He mocked no. She replied calmly. "He worked on whatever broke." She removed a bent piece of metal from her pocket, a tool she'd clearly shaped herself, and tightened a clamp that Victor hadn't even noticed. Rain soaked through her sleeves, but she didn't flinch. Her movements were precise, practiced, almost reverent. The billionaire checked his watch. 5 minutes had passed, then 10. "You're wasting your time," he said, his voice less confident now that Carr was diagnosed by the best. She stepped back suddenly. "Try now," she said. Victor stared at her. The driver looked uncertain. The crowd leaned closer. "Impossible," Victor muttered, but he slid into the driver's seat anyway. His hand hesitated on the ignition. Something about the girl's stillness unsettled him. She wasn't hopeful or nervous. She was simply waiting. He turned the key. The engine coughed once, then it roared to life. Smooth, powerful, flawless. Victor froze, his breath caught in his chest as the sound filled the air outside. The girl lowered her gaze, wiping her hands on her jacket, rain dripping from her hair. The laughter was gone. So was the certainty that some things were impossible. The sound of the Ferrari's engine settled into a deep, steady purr, rich and alive, cutting through the rain-soaked silence. Like a confession Victor Hale had never planned to make. His hand remained frozen on the ignition for several seconds, as if turning the key again might shatter the moment. Outside the windshield, the girl stood motionless, rain streaking down her face, oil staining her fingers, her expression unreadable. Victor slowly stepped out of the car. The crowd that had gathered whispered among themselves now. A man laughed nervously. Someone muttered, "That's impossible." The driver stared at the engine bay, as if it had betrayed everything he believed about expertise and money. Victor closed the hood himself. The sharp clang echoed louder than it should have. "What's your name?" he asked. The girl hesitated. "Amani." "Do you know what that car is worth?" he continued. She nodded slightly. "More than everything I own." "And yet you fixed it," Victor said, his voice quieter now with scrap tools in the rain. Amani shrugged. It didn't need money. It needed attention. Something in that sentence struck him harder than the breakdown itself. Victor glanced at the driver, then at the road, then back at her. He remembered conference rooms full of experts, arguing over charts and diagnostics, all of them expensive, none of them listening. "You didn't ask for anything," he said, "not even when I insulted you." She lowered her eyes. People say things when they don't expect to be wrong. Victor exhaled slowly. He reached into his wallet, pulled out a card, then stopped himself. Instead, he removed his watch, the one reporters love to photograph, and held it out to her. "Take it." He said, "Sell it." "It's worth. I don't want that." Amani interrupted gently. The driver inhaled sharply. Victor stared at her, stunned again, but this time for a different reason. "What do you want then?" He asked, a money swallowed. A place to learn real tools, books. I fix things because it's the only time the world makes sense to me. Rain softened to a drizzle. Victor felt something unfamiliar tighten behind his eyes. He nodded once, decisive the way he did when buying companies or closing deals. But this felt heavier. You'll have a scholarship. He said mechanical engineering. Any school you want and a workshop. I'll fund it, her breath caught. Why? Because today, Victor replied, you reminded me that brilliance doesn't care where you're born. Amani's eyes filled, but she didn't cry. She simply nodded, gripping her hands together, as if afraid the promise might dissolve if she moved too quickly. Victor turned to leave, then paused. One more thing, yes. He glanced back at the Ferrari, then at her. That offer still stands. Not the car, but the respect. You earned it as Victor drove away. The road felt different beneath the tires. Lighter, and for the first time in years, the billionaire wasn't thinking about what he owned, but about what he had finally seen.